Hello, everyone. It's Charlton, and let's see. Maybe I'll do this right here, right now. One-shot deal. So I had this crazy idea, and I don't know why it never really occurred to me before. So Black Friday, I was sort of watching a little television and relaxing before I headed to the Paley house later that afternoon. Sort of dozing in and out, and there was something on TV. It was like a documentary about this. I never heard of this before. I vaguely did, but I didn't know about it. And this happens to be Australia, which is just a very strange coincidence. There's always strange coincidences in life. Lots of them, because I had just been on NServe's live stream, which I really enjoyed. I really did. I had a lot of fun, and I felt completely at ease. It was almost like just much better than I expected. So, and I had sent him a few emails prior to. We've been talking just a little bit, and I've backed away from talking by email for the most part. Just mostly because I'm busy, but also just sort of pulling away a little. But one of the first things I told NServe, I'm just going to talk freely. This is probably going to take a while. If you don't want to watch, I fully understand. I really do. I don't blame you, because it's just impossible to try to be speedy and super efficient in my communication and stuff. But one of the first things I said to him, and we've talked before, but things had changed. Something was going on in the community that but when we started corresponding just for a minute, the first thing I said was that just please understand that I don't really trust anybody on YouTube, and but that's not necessary completely, and I pretty much trust him, but there's always a lingering doubt with every person I correspond with that they could be posing as something they're not, and so forth. Anyways, I don't know why I bring that up, other than, and I don't know, I just jumped into that live stream. I never meant to do that. I really didn't. But I really didn't. I didn't like what I was seeing, and I don't know all the facts. And you know what? I don't want to, and I don't need to. Okay, I don't. But just from an observer of bits and pieces, I didn't like what I was seeing, and I think NServe is a nice person. Something's wrong with my mouse, dude. What's going on? And I just didn't like what I was seeing. So, and we didn't end up talking about anything other than just chit chat, which was so good. So the next day, I was watching this, and it really hit me like a bucket of ice water about this thing called the family, and it's something went on for years. It's an occult, basically. It's a cult that really endured for a long period of time, and I think nobody even ever really knew how far and widespread it was, and I don't know all the details of it. I just watched the show and looked it up a little bit. But again, it doesn't matter. That's not the point I'm trying to make. But some of the elements of it are like many cults, but this one was really dug in because basically many members of respected society were a part of it, and and secretly. And in critical areas of society that help the cult thrive and grow and survive and avoid punishment, And they used many different diabolical means of growing themselves, of obtaining children, and of keeping them under control. So many different things, from starvation, limiting their diet, isolation, having them fight each other, and and so many different things. It's just impossible to describe the entire thing, and I don't even know it that well. And they called themselves the family, and it was all There's one central character mostly. It's a woman. Her name is Anne Hamilton-Byrne, and I think her husband was Bill. But there was also an older couple who was a professor. I think he might have been the person running the mental institution, who was also a member of this cult, who I know he was interviewed. I saw him. I'm not even sure if he was the professor or the head of this mental institution. I can't remember, but I remember him being combative, and that basically, if anybody dared challenge them in the public forum, that they would come after them legally, and threatened them. He was very unafraid. And so that basically anybody who criticized them could face consequences, legal consequences also, because the cult was so powerful and had so many members of respected society that were a part of it. People feared that they could end up in the mental institution. Within the cult themselves, that absolutely was always a threat. That if anybody dared try to rebel or escape or whatever, that they would basically end up confined in a mental institution and disappear. Because one of the members was the head of a mental institution, and and they did testing. They gave these children were giving them LSD, various forms of psychedelic drugs, highly potent things, and so forth. It goes on and on. And actually, I think there was a portion that was in England. I know that some of these mothers that birthed these kids, and there were marriages arranged. I'm not describing it perfectly, but again, just bear with me, and if you don't want to listen, that's fine. Mothers were sent off, or even members that were rebellious, that were just a continuous problem, were sent off to England to live with, on a farm somewhere for a period of years, and then would return. And and that also just illustrates the how far wide this cult was, and their power and wealth. And it wasn't exactly clear to me how they became so wealthy, other than I think, one of the members was saying that Anne basically got money from everybody, and that every person she talked to, one of the leaders, the woman, who was just this, and she survived this over the years. I think she's actually still living. She might be 95 years old or even older in a nursing home. Never really saw justice, even though she was basically found guilty after years and years of investigations and, criminal investigations, and her living in Hawaii, I believe, for a very extended period of time in the latter end of her life with her and her husband, where she's an old woman, and they finally were able to extradite her back to Australia to face justice. And even after that, she basically was given like a fine and nothing, and I suspect that because there were other members of the cult that could have been exposed too, that she got protected, and that there was corruption. And that's just all my own opinion. But there she is there. She's very pretty, and they were also very, as there always is with the cults, sexual, things behind it. But I don't need to get into specifics. Or one man was basically told of him being fed LSD, and then her, basically it was like a brainwashing session, and he would ask her all these, she would ask him all these just, insane questions and about his sexuality, and he's tripping out on acid, and basically to the point where he concedes that she's Jesus and all this other stuff. It doesn't matter, dude. So, but the family, and for some reason, these children, and the children came from like orphanages or from marriages that were arranged within the cult, but a lot of time they came from babies that were put up for adoption, and somehow they were tied into one of the hospitals where where babies that were especially back in the day where it was a very shameful thing to have a baby out of wedlock, or teen young girls getting pregnant. That's how a lot of these children were obtained, through the system in a fairly legal way, but they had members that were either tied into the hospital or whatever to basically, kind of more or less, but legally strip babies from their mothers immediately at birth, and then they would become part of the community, and a lot of the children many of them didn't know for years who their rightful parents were, and so forth. But the family, that's what stuck out at me, that term, the family, and it made me think of, and honest to goodness, man, I hope people don't get upset by this, but if you do, you do, dude. And if you don't, you don't. But I am a human being, and one of the things is of anything, of any method of control, is not allowing you to speak, silencing people. And it's just so powerful. It's just like, why somebody didn't just go up and there was only a few people at the top of this that were controlling all these others, but the grip they have over them, they're children. But why they don't just go and punch their way to freedom or whatever? But the family, it sounded a lot like the community to me. And it made me think of this almost cult-like quality to the Vegas so-called community, okay? Where you have some creators, some big creators that maybe are in the background now, and they're not so much in the forefront, but you have others that have, formed alliances and so forth within the community with the, whoever's sort of the puppet master at the top, or puppet masters, several, who knows? Nothing's going to fit any one particular model. But, and the qualities were just so similar in terms of people, anybody daring to differ or challenge, the authority of anybody within the community or higher ups within the community, the threat of being banished and so forth. It just seems so similar to it just has a cult-like quality to it to me, and I'm in this so-called community, kind of, I'm in, I'm out, I'm watching, but it doesn't matter, if you're watching the fishbowl, you're in the fishbowl, So I'm not sitting in judgment. Everybody is susceptible to this, All human beings. Even things that are accepted in society, whether organized religion. It is such a fine line between things that are cult-like and things that are just accepted normal organizations and groups of people in society, whether it's organized religion, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, or even things, even nations, are it's a fine line between cult, mind control, and things that are basically accepted norms and actually even cherished and admired. So don't think I'm judging anybody. It just jumped out at me when I was watching the documentary on it, and I kept hearing the family, and then the community. I'm like, wow, and the similarities seem so in terms of like them having the children fight each other, as a way of controlling them, and of course punishing them too. And they were regimented in they got their education from the community. It's really strange, man, because when I looked this up, the family, it also came up that when I looked it up on YouTube, that supposedly there's a rumor out there that Julian Assange is one of these kids, okay? And it's just so weird that, you know, he's in the news right now at the center of the Russia investigation, you know, and Dr. Corsi is being he's in plea talks with the Mueller probe, and you know, and so because sometimes people are saying there's actually one of these things here where it's circled, you know, and you know, they're claiming one of these kids in this picture is him. And, you know, because he's got that same blonde, like albino hair. And this is about the family. You see, they all have like bleach blonde hair. You know, it's all like totally pretty whacked out. But, you know, Dr. Corsi, too, like, when you look at some of his earlier photos, he's got that whacked out, like, sort of bleach blonde albino hair. And so does Roger Stone, you know? And so does somebody else, man, who kind of does, you know, is Trump. And it just started making my imagination go completely wild. Well, and I do think there's something going on. I really do. Even though I'm just talking here in generalities about human behavior and how human beings, we just can't help it. It just almost happens on its own. You know, when you get groups of people, it's just like Animal Farm, totally, where you know, the animals take over, but then they end up becoming the people, becoming the same thing that they took over. And they end up becoming corrupted by the power. They end up doing exactly the same things that they fought against, you know. And that's, I mean, a lot of the things that happens on YouTube, they end up becoming and modeling themselves over the same things that they claim to, you know, speak out against and expose. Okay, you know, and it's just control and power. And by starving people and not allowing people to speak out and punishing them and turning people against each other and you know, allowing certain members to rise up through the ranks and so forth, man. So, but I really think that the whole model is crazy. The whole YouTube model, it really is, and it's actually because it basically allows for these like digital cults where people's identities are kept secret. And I'm not necessarily advocating for, you know, some laws, which is people are starting to talk about this, that it shouldn't be. People should be allowed to be anonymous, you know, and that's starting to become, you know, that's starting to get debated. That's where this is going a little bit. But the fact that, you know, you have, like, if you take the normal cult model and you put it in a digital format that basically can reach every corner of the globe and secretly be communicating with millions and millions of people and using the same types of, you know, diabolical means to control and disseminate and raise money and so on through digital means, even with cryptocurrency and on, it really becomes quite a scary prospect. It really does. And it's one that can't necessarily be handled quite so easily like, you know, a David Koresh in wherever he was in Waco, Texas, or, you know, Jim Jones, and I guess it was Guinea or New Guinea, where he eventually ended up, and so forth, and on and on. There's cult after cult after cult. But, you know, it also made me think that maybe Q is, and I know people who are obsessed over Q, but it's the same. It's very similar. You know, I mean, you have basically Q prophesizing, you know, the future and what's going to happen, and claiming to have this knowledge that nobody else has, almost like religious in nature, but it's not. But religion is definitely, you know, integrated in there. And it almost made me think that Q was set up solely to be this sort of center of gravity, or the center of this wheel of spokes of all these different communities, right? Where all these little miniature cults that are going on, whether it's PG, you know, whatever it is, Pizzagate, you know, or people talking about this conspiracy or that conspiracy, or a Las Vegas shooting or Parkland shooting, you know, and they're all controlled, through a central hub like Q. But it's similar to like the family where, the community, the Q community and beyond, all the different communities, they have members that are respected members of society. Some probably that are employees of YouTube. Some that are employees of these so-called trusted flaggers, that are employees of ADLs. Is it ADLs? NGOs, not ADLs. ADL is the Anti-Defamation League, which is an NGO, a non-governmental organization that basically, YouTube uses to help police content. But you have members that are part of this community that are also members of other respected branches that actually police this. And so just like in this family, where you could be taken away from your room in the middle of the night and taken off to a mental institution and disappear and completely silenced if you don't go along with the family. Same thing, you could just disappear. Your channel disappears. You're a similar thing. I did always think it's strange. Even the dude, the Parkland shooting and the whole purge, that all began with the Jason Hogg video, all right, of him, being interviewed. And that originated from the Gateway Pundit. It did. And it started there, and then it got sort of disseminated to several places, and then people replicated it like myself and many, many others. And that wasn't the only thing. But that dude, the dude who is the founder of the Gateway Pundit, he's another one who's got this crazy bleach blonde hair. Just these coincidences are just too funny to not mention. And it almost made me think, I'm trying to remember all the different stuff that I want to, which is, I find it really odd that Alex Jones's empire on YouTube was taken down, or his channels were taken down after the purge, not during, after. And I find that a little bit on the suspicious side. I do. And the fact that, and I saw him mention this in one of his videos because he was either asked it or he just felt, the need to address it, because it's just a common question is, are you suing? And I honestly think that, I think YouTube took his channel down because he has a rightful claim. He does. There's people out there doing the exact same thing he was doing right now. They were while he was taken down all over the place. He could sue easily. And obviously, suing Google is no easy prospect. They have they have more money than God. But still, he has a very legitimate claim, and yet I don't know that he is. And I almost think that YouTube was taking down his channel because they want him to sue them. And because they're willing to lose, and whatever it is, because the settlement wouldn't be that much, be nothing for Google to pay. But they want to go through discovery, the legal process, and to look into all his communications, his private communications, as it relates to, I don't know, some weird thing that's going on. In their system, That's a little bit of a stretch, I would say, but well, I don't know. I thought when they went down the whole time, they went down, for a 24-hour period, I thought that was absolutely related to this somehow, that they needed to shut down to get in there and basically disarm something that had been put into the system, or identify people that were in the system illegally, and they could only do that by shutting it down for a period of time somehow. And the fact that Google Plus, that they have removed that was such an integral part of Google. That even though it was a failure as a social media platform, that used to be the center of their, of all their various pieces, of any user. And when you would need to update your stuff, you would go back to Google Plus to update the rest of all your things. That was the beginning of each person's identity. So for them to just, I don't know, I'm getting off on, because I had once thought it was an identity theft. I did. And I thought that some ring of of hackers, whatever, had basically stolen a ton, like hundreds of millions of users' identities in Google, and we're holding them hostage from Google. And but most of the information that they had is pretty much, useless to anybody, and it doesn't really. It's almost impossible to make lots of money off of it, huge amounts of money. But what they wanted was Google to pay them, for that, or else they were going to go public with the fact that they had it, basically holding it ransom. And in fact, maybe the purge was a way of showing them that they had corrupted their system, that they could do anything they want within their system, including, getting rid of channels, doing anything, operating freely. And that was an example of showing them, that, you either pay up or whatever. And that's why soon after that, then the system went down, and Google Plus goes down. This doesn't seem to be so connected, but I don't know if all these things are connected. Okay, so my last wild idea, and then I'll end this. I mean, it's so much in my head about this, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but the thing I wanted to communicate in this is the similarity between the community and the family. The cult-like features of things that just happen and it's not just the Vegas community, any community, the truth community, the truther community, and how you're treated if you rebel or you speak out or whatever, But I mean, the crazy thought I was having was that, like, all these people, man, with this crazy white hair, whether it's Julian Assange, Joram Corsi, Roger Stone, the dude from the Gateway Pundit. Alex Jones doesn't really fit into that too good. So, that Vegas actually was a message to Trump, who's a member of this, that they control him. And the family, the community controls him. Crazy. Alright, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I will see you in the next video. Later, man.